what gave you the idea and what made you decide to make this film with Pope Francis?
Lana, first of all, thank you for having me here. I guess since you mentioned both of the previous movies, Winch on Fire and Christ from Syria, both of these movies different than this one. And both of the previous movies, from one side, showed me the great emerging things in humanity, from Winch on Fire, where I saw unity on the Maidan Square in Ukraine, Kiev, unity that helped them to achieve their goals and win the situation. Same time, interface dialogue, which I also witnessed on the grounds of Maidan. But in both of these movies, I also saw the darkest side of today's humanity, which eventually brought me to my personal crisis, post-traumatic syndrome, nightmares, and I guess from Christ from Syria, where it was the darkest side of humanity, which I witnessed in Syria, I was looking for hope, for love, for hope not only for myself, for the people around me, noticing everything what's happening around us, disasters and many issues that we as people created. So I was seeking hope, humanity, light, love towards us back, and inspiration. And I think pointing towards Pope Francis, who's been able to become my inspiration last 3 years, also helped me to heal my own wounds, my own emotional wounds, and at the same time allowing me to bring all these innocent voices from all over the world, remind us about issues that we are surrounded in today's world, but in the same time still have hope and ability to fix these issues, change these disasters into something positive, fix it. I think that's what brought me to him, not just as a leader of the Catholic Church, but as the human great role model. And I guess somebody who can not heal me as the person, but also heal humanity. And again, it's a big words, but I think he's doing this because bringing these innocent voices from across the globe allows me to prove that he is this person who healing humanity.
Yeah, and this film is very different. Like, you're not on the front lines of a war zone. You know, you're not covering a revolution. You're looking at the eyes of the humanity through one of the most prominent religious figures we have. Now, tell me, how did you, as a Jewish filmmaker, gain access to Pope Francis?
I guess being persistent, my perseverance, being straightforward in what I wanted to tell, being able to prove that all my movies allowing ability to bring through my platform as filmmaker voices of innocent people and bring spotlight on their issues, which he as the Pope in today's world doing also, using his platform as a Pope. He taking media to every corner of the world and trying to bring spotlight to the issues that are happening in today's world. So I guess all this in collaboration, plus my persistence, and never giving up. Actually, I can say that I not was able to accept no as an answer, because when I came to Vatican and I said I want to do a movie about Pope Francis, they said, you know what, you can start, you can go, we know your movies, but the problem, we will not promising you anything with the Pope. You not have interview as of right now. And I guess I not was able to accept no as an answer. And I think a lot of filmmakers, same way. We are persistent in our goals and we love challenges. And I think I, who've been in a different situations in my life, I was prepared for this thing. I went immediately to Argentina, from where Holy Father and from where the journey of the Jorge Maria Bergoglio started. And step by step, I built this relationship. Step by step, I also reached him, who still not was ready to go on the camera. And I also convinced him to make this movie, to allow me to be witnessing his things, to bring these voices using my platform as filmmaker, his platform as the Pope. And he allowed me to make it happen. So I'm really honored that this movie exists right now and can open wide eyes to a lot of people, inspiring them to do good.
Well, he clearly likes your work and he clearly trusts you a lot. Now tell me, how did the relationship between you and Pope Francis evolve over time?
You know, through the movie process, I guess I was learning about him, he was learning about me, and he was keeping really distance from me, probably because he wanted to be specifically not interfering in the movie and allowing me to be objective filmmaker, because he knew that I'm not biased to him, I don't have any agenda. The only interest I had is to tell the stories, to bring his inspiration, and to bring the spotlight on all the issues surrounded us. And I think that was the whole goal. And our relationship really shifted and changed after we finished the movie. So his kind of distance from me, allowing me to make the movie, and in the same time collaborating and cooperating in the issues that I was tackling in the movie, was one way of collaboration. But later, after I finished the movie, the relationship became really more close, more inspiring. And I think I'm really honored that as a filmmaker and as a human, I am able, without any filtering, have direct communication with him, direct accessibility to him. And no matter what happened on this road, no matter the critiques who were criticizing him for certain things, our relationship sustained as the really human to human. And that's what I admire with him. I think the whole premise, the whole build of this relationship is human to human. And that's what I admire in this person. Because for me, he's not just a pope. He's a role model, human, who inspiring people to do good every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even heard that when you went to the Vatican, he actually threw you a little birthday party and had a cake for you. Is that true?
Yeah. Last year when I had a premiere of the movie, I brought my friends actually who were working in the movie, and friends who came to support the premiere to meet him. And the premiere actually fell on my birthday on 21st of October. And yes, he surprised me with the cake. And I think it was just to make everybody understand that he is one of us. He is same human being who can congratulate another human being, who can celebrate amazing moments for another human being. I think, again, this message, human to human, is there, and he is perfectly human for us.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about the critics and how some people view the Catholic Church now. This is in the wake of a lot of sexual abuse scandals, and you actually address that in the film. That's actually a huge part of the film. You interview Juan Carlos Cruz, who is a sexual abuse survivor. You get the church to where they actually are comfortable enough to say, hey, I'm acknowledge the sexual abuse and then apologize for it on camera. Can you tell me more about the insider's look into the all church situation of the sexual abuse witnessed and the details portrayed?
I think what I was lucky, I'm not biased to the church. And I never been biased to any of my movies. Being raised and born in a former Soviet Union, in Russia, I did a movie about Ukraine. Being raised and served Israeli military in Israel, I went to Syria, Lebanon to tackle the most sophisticated complex of the crisis related to the Syria. And again, I was biased to this thing. And here I'm not biased to anything. But due to this, I was able to be insider and outsider since 2018, witnessing all this escalation that started in Chile in 2018 with the sexual abuse, when he literally rejected the claims. And then I was able, and I think that was a biggest present for me. I've been able to witness how he not only allowed himself to admit the mistake and do research and send the investigators and do investigation and spend time with the victims, but also to take first steps, take real actions, apologize. And all this was on a camera. I think for me, that's a remarkable moment in history to be witnessing such things, being able to not only being outsider, but also insider, because Archbishop Cicluna, as investigator, not often on giving such interviews, such kind of intimate interviews where he discussing his investigations and his work in terms of the sexual abuse cases. And I think also not every victim of sexual abuse ready sometimes to open all his emotions and his journey and his story, life story on a camera, because for a lot of them, it's not easy to talk openly on a camera. It's sometimes much easy with a psychologist in a room, but not on a camera in front of the entire world. And for that, I'm admiring Juan Carlos Cruz, who not only opened his heart, he's also a fighter who was fighting and who is resembling these millions and millions and millions of the voices of the victims of sexual abuse. And I think for me, it's a remarkable story between two human beings, Juan Carlos and Pope Francis, who learned about each other, who really created this bridge, human bridge between each other. And I think Juan Carlos not only were fighting against the church, today he still continue fighting for the victims of sexual abuse, but being in the infrastructure of the church, sitting on a top commission for protection of minors in the church, where Pope Francis actually appointed him, which is a remarkable thing that never happened in the history of the church. And it just talks about concrete actions of Pope Francis. And I think for me, witnessing all this, it's a great honor. But I also want to tell you that during the summit of sexual abuse, I witnessed a lot of interesting things. And I also interviewed a lot of victims of sexual abuse for the camera, but I also spoke with some who not were ready to go on a camera, but in the same time wanted to express their feelings in different ways. And did you like the score of the movie?
Yes, I mean, I thought it was very uplifting, and just it was such a beautiful piece of music that almost was a testament to trauma and healing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I just wanted to tell you that it was actually a healing. It was a healing for one of the victims of sexual abuse, also from Chile. He was born in Chile. He was raised in Germany because he was sold as the child by the Pinochet regime to Germany, where his German parents gave him to the boarding school, where he learned music, where he was really abused big time. It was a big scandal in Germany about this school. And I met this kid, and grown man today, when he was talking to the bishops during the sexual abuse summit in 2019 in February, and then he was performing Bach on his violin. He's a very famous violin player. And I offered him to talk on a camera about his experience, about his healing, what he's seeing in today's world, how the church approaching the changes. And he said, for me, I rather play my music. I rather express it through the sounds of my music, through my violin sounds. And for me, it's kind of ability to heal. And I brought him in 2019 at the end here, and we recorded entire score of the movie on the sounds on his violin. So for him, it was amazing healing. I have pictures on my phone where when I met him and when he was with us, completely two different people. And I'm proud that I've been able to add more voices of the victims of sexual abuse behind this movie, and not necessarily in front of the camera, but also through all other abilities, through ability to express their feelings and heal through the music. And like you said, it was a healing, sounds of healing. And like I said, for me, it was a healing project. And for many others, it was a healing project.
Absolutely, very much cathartic in nature. Pope Francis extending this, apology to the victims and implementing change within the church. It's almost unprecedented in a way. Now, it is National Human Rights Day, International Human Rights Day. And you also elected to show the Pope's views on refugees several times during the film. It's even showed on his Twitter account that you says, build bridges, not walls. Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to include that in the documentary about Pope Francis as well?
I think he, as this kind of human, he building bridges. He not as much as we can see Vatican surrounded by big wall, and some skeptical people will say, oh, but he is living behind the walls. Yes, he is living behind the walls, but he is people's pope. From the day he was elected as the pope, he chose to use same shoes as he was using. He chose to live with the people in a community like he was living before. He even not took papal limo from the conclave into the Santa Marta, but he was driving and going back with everybody in the same bus with all cardinals. So at the end of the day, he is exactly this human who cares about humans. Why I'm talking today about human rights? I think the great example of that, when I tried to convince him to go on a camera, he said, Evgeny, I rather go as the priest who I am to the end of the world, to the front lines, and be with the people, help them to resolve different things, to help them for the needs they need, than to be on the camera because I'm not an actor. And I think that relates to him. Talking about Human Rights Day, talking about refugees that he just saw last weekend in the Lesbos. He went to really, again, bring emphasis to the disaster of today's world, the refugee crisis. But never the matter, he also bring a plane of the refugees back to Rome through this week after his trip. So that's how he cares about humanity. That's how he truly fights the issues that we as humans created on the human rights issues. And I think that's really important. And again, human rights in my movie can be seen through the genocides, through the Holocaust, through many other issues that we are seeing in the current world. And I think that's why this day is really important to him, important to you, important to me. And this movie is really applying a lot of subjects, matters that are brought to the light in this movie.
Absolutely. And then you also highlight, Sister Norma, who helped, refugees from Mexico and Central America. There's just a lot of highlighting of human rights in the film. I also want to read a tweet that I thought was very, very, just kind of symbolic of the film itself. And he said, the pandemic reminds us that there are no differences or borders between those who suffer. We are all frail, all equal, all precious. May we be profoundly shaken. Now is the time to eliminate inequalities and heal the injustice undermining the health of the entire human family.
I will tell you, when people asking me a lot of times about my relationship with him and how I see him, no matter that I'm seeing him human to human, I also seeing him like a father to all of us. I see the entire humanity as one big family, and that's how he sees this. No, that's why last year his third encyclical that he, as the Pope, wrote, and it was released on October 3rd. Actually, his third encyclical was Fratelli Tutti, we all brothers. And I think looking at all what he's trying to preach as the priest, he's trying to unite us as one big family because the entire world divided. We as Americans divided, European Union divided. We really divided in this world. And I think he's trying to unite us no matter of the color of the skin and religious beliefs, no matter of believer or not, no matter of the sexual orientation. He's trying to unite us as one big family saying, hey, we all even, we all here together. Let's stop destroy our home, Mother Earth, nature, because tomorrow we will be without the roof under us. And let's respect each other, care for each other. I think that's the most important message that he's trying to bring through his human gestures that he's doing day by day for the humanity. And that's how I see him, as the great role model and as the father to all of us.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, sexual orientation, because a lot of critics have, been very critical of Pope Francis and the church, because there's been several articles that have come out recently saying that the Vatican cannot support same-sex marriage. However, in the film, Francis welcomes all of God's children. We're all brothers and sisters. We are all family. How do you reconcile that?
First of all, Pope still standing on this matter. And even in September, 2 months from today, he was flying from Hungary to Rome. And on a press conference during the flight, in front of the cameras, he said, gay people, they are our brothers, and we need to allow them same civil rights like everybody else. So we need to create civil union laws that will protect them, that will allow them same insurance, same ability for medical stuff. So he is really standing on the same thing that he said in the movie. Now, I don't want to go into all details, but Vatican is the complicated institution, which Pope Francis is trying to bring revolutionary changes. Now, he is a conservative Pope who have approached to certain things as somebody who is revolutionary. And that's my observation as filmmaker, being next to him for 3 years. There is different approach to different things. And I think that's thing he's totally revolutionary. He's trying to bring it as some issue and bring this change. Same like he's trying to push women on the power positions of the church, trying to break the stigma of the macho institution. He's trying to bring more lay people from outside to break the institutional brotherhood cover up. He's trying to bring more transparency because he understands that this institution will not be able to survive without transparency in our today's world, modern world. So I think there is a lot of revolutionary things that he's trying to implement, but because like everybody else, a lot of cardinals and bishops, they're fearing of change, and fear of change exists even in our blood of the human beings, no matter, we're talking right now institution of 2000 years, but here, sometimes husband and wife, they're not able to stay in a marriage, but they're afraid to separate because they have fear of change. Same there. A lot of cardinals, bishops, they're afraid to lose their power. So for them, transparency, women empowerment, lay people, civil rules related to the gay people, it's all kind of a drastic change. And I think that's why there is a lot of opposition. And that's why from time to time, we can see in the media, like you just mentioned, that the Vatican said, no, we can't bless. No, he not said about blessing. He said about specifically civil union laws that can protect people against discrimination. And actually, the doctrine book of the Catholic Church, published in 1992, said the same thing, that people who deeply experiencing homosexual tendencies need to be respected, taken with respect, sensitivity, and every unjust discrimination toward them should be avoided. Unfortunately, Church never learned this specific point from their own doctrine book, where it says that people need to be also welcomed. People need to be respected. And that's what he's trying to explain to the world and to the church. Hey, they're our brothers and sisters, and we need to welcome them and make sure that anything around them in terms of discrimination should be avoided. So he is deeply caring about people. And a great example to that, last year, during the pandemic, Pope Francis sent money to transgender people who were struggling. They were struggling because they were out of the streets, they were without work, and he sent his personal money to some place in Italy where some of these people who related to transgender community were struggling. And that's a great example, not words, example of support of LGBTQ community by Pope Francis.
Absolutely. And climate change is also another progressive kind of idea that he takes on and tackles within the film as well. You know, and we've got a long history of the church, a very conservative church who typically believes in creation over evolution. And we've got Pope Francis stepping back and saying, hey, guys, we need to do something about this now. Climate change is real. It's up to us to solve this problem. You know, I think that's just, you know, a remarkable thing for him to kind of call out. What are your thoughts on that?
That's not thoughts, that's actions. I think in October 3rd this year, October 3rd or 4th, he had leaders of every faith on earth together with him in Vatican signing and its endorsement to the leaders who went to Glasgow, and this endorsement was called Faith and Science. So for the first time, we can see how the entire Catholic Church recognizing science, again, through him. I'm not talking about certain cardinals who still today not ready to recognize even vaccinations because they're not believing in science. We have also people like them, and Pope Francis really pointed to that in his latest press conference. But what is important, he is standing behind science, he's aligning church behind science, and he is encouraging and inspiring every faith leaders from all over the world to follow the science, which is remarkable to see such alignment. And he is standing for the protection of the nation. He is all the time talking how important to care about our human home. It is important. And I think in a movie, it is a great thing. He tells us, hey, the God forgives, man forgives sometimes, but nature never forgives. If you slap her, she will slap back. And for him, a lot of disasters that are happening around us, it's a slap of Mother Nature to our face for our disasters that we make to her.
Absolutely. And how does Pope Francis feel about those cardinals who are anti-vaccination, or those who may not be quite ready to embrace science? How does he separate himself as the progressive leader, one of the most influential people in the world, and tackling these very real life issues?
He was one of the first who received the vaccination in January. He and Pope Benedict, both of them. And both of them at the end of October, around 28th of October, received the boost shot. He was in August this year participating with many cardinals and bishops from Mexico. Our Archbishop Gomez from Los Angeles, who is not aligned with Pope Francis on many issues, he endorsed together with Pope Francis the vaccination campaign, together with the former Archbishop of Sao Paulo, Archbishop Emeritus, who was Cardinal Humes. He was also in this campaign, Archbishop from Mexico City. So a lot of cardinals did together with Pope Francis the whole endorsement campaign for the vaccines. In terms of certain cardinals who are not following science, who are still in opposition, one of them was recently in a hospital in ICU, and he's still denying the vaccinations. And from my personal observation, this cardinal actually was very close to certain not believers in vaccines in our country from the previous government. So it's interesting, American cardinal related to certain characters from the previous government. But Pope Francis takes this with the joke and irony of life, because he mentioned this in the last press conference, and he said, the irony is these people not believing, being sick, barely recovered, and they're still not able to learn the lesson. And it's true. People should be learning the lesson and being open to admit their mistakes, like he's showing us in a movie, that yes, you can be a leader, profound leader, but you need to learn how to admit your mistakes and take actions to fix them. But unfortunately, not everyone can be like him, great role model, who can accept his mistakes.
No, they can't. But he's definitely leading the way into the church into the 21st century. And in doing so, he's helping humanity kind of come together, as you said earlier, building a bridge instead of a wall. And I think
and also to learn something from our past and try to create something for the better future. Because in the last tweet that you read actually from the movie, he literally giving us a call for action that we need to really leave behind us a lot of old stuff, and with the completely fresh perspective we can build a bridge to the much more safer and better future for all of us.
absolutely. This film is very much so a call to action from one of the most influential leaders in the world today. Now, you're a filmmaker that gets really involved with your work, and you probably learned a lot during this experience. Is there anything that you'd like to share about what you learned along this journey?
um Patience. It's interesting because I tried to finish movie in 2019, and he kind of still not was ready for that. I was pressuring him, and I was thinking I almost done with the movie in 2019, and he was like, "Wait, wait, wait. You will see. It will come time, and it will come organically. Just trust the process and be patient, and trust the God." That's where his words. And for me, it was trust the process, honestly. And it was interesting how in 2020 it all came together, how he was supporting this, how he all realized that the pandemic helped me to reshape the narrative of the movie, helped me to put the proper beginning and the end, which is inspirational, which shows us opportunity of unity between human people, between humanity. We see in this clapping of the people from all over the world where we can recognize that we as the people, we united in a good, we can be united in appreciation to the people who caring for us in these dark moments. And we also can see that there is a future. And I think when I brought him the final cut of the movie, I finished it in August. I think it was August 30 last year. I was lucky to travel in pandemic, film in pandemic. It was interesting experience. I finished movie in pandemic, premiere movie in pandemic, also in Rome. He said to me, first thing that he said, it was, "Evgeny, thank you for your patience and thank you for your trust." And I was like, "Holy Father, thank you for your patience with me specifically, who is impatient." And I think that's a really important thing, because patience helps me right now to become a dad. And patience, it's also something that I need being a dad with my little one. So I think patience was one of the lessons. Trusting the process, it's another lesson. Believing in good, believing in future. I think the whole healing process of this movie, that I no longer having nightmares, that I literally seeing positive in a lot of things, positive in the future. I think without that, I not was bringing the child into this world, but the fact that I saw opportunity of global leader who doing good and seeing good things happening and seeing opportunity and hope for the future, which I not saw after Syria. I think that allows me to bring the child. And I think that's all important lessons. This movie for me, a great hope, and great hope not only to inspire through his gestures and his actions people to do good, but also to see a positivity in the future.
Yeah. And this film is not about religion. It's not about Christianity. It's about humanity. And what do you want viewers to get out of it? What's like the most important thing that you would like viewers to receive?
I think this movie, in a certain way, is like a cold shower to wake up, because we've been so nailed in our own caves, in our own apartments, specifically through the last couple of years with the pandemic. We also been living in a bubble because media was only covering what's happening in our city, what happening in our country. And what I tried to do with this movie is to open our eyes wide, to take us in this less than 2 hours around the globe, showing all kind of disasters that are surrounding us, but I also trying to show opportunities for the change, for the hope, for the better future. And I think I would love that each and every person who deeply care for any of these things that are depicted in the movie sits after the movie and rethink all his actions and find something that he can do differently next day, and encourage others to do differently and to do something good for others, something for neighbors, something for friends, something for his family. And I think that's the idea, to bring change. And if one person will start to do it, then another person will start to do it. Together we can bring the change. I want to finish with a remarkable poster that I saw on a square Maidan in Ukraine in 2013-14 when I was filming Winter on Fire. It was a big drop of water, and above this water it was a sign: each of us is a drop of water, but together we are ocean. So if each person will start to think what possible to do for the climate change, for the refugees, for the migrants, because we can be on their place, or in terms of women empowerment, or caring for elderly, or doing interfaith dialogue between different religion groups, or embracing people with different sexuality. I think we can really change the world. And that's what I think can be good if each and every person rethink his thoughts, leave his baggage in the past, and move completely in different way into the future. It's like we need to stop being literally victims of our past, which we had a lot before pandemic, because we can be heroes of our future. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely a call to action to humanity, for humanity. Evgeny, thank you so much. Film, you don't really focus on the Catholic Church and tradition. It's more about Pope Francis's progressive, evolved views on humanity. But do you think that Francis's views will be enough to push the Vatican and the Catholic Church to truly change?
I think the momentum is created, and I think the whole momentum that brought him to become a pope, it's the need of the change for the church. And despite that, a lot of cardinals that I saw not ready to recognize certain changes, I think the momentum is there, and he is doing this. And step by step, he's having a lot of women already in a position of power inside of the system of the church. Despite all these objectives, he's still fighting, but he already brought a lot of changes inside of the fight against sexual abuse in the church. He changed the laws, and he did it literally. First law on the sexual abuse that cover up is almost equal as the sexual abuse was done 2 and something months after the summit of sexual abuse. It's literally summit finished on 25th of February. The first law was already placed on 9th of May, same year, 2 and something months. Never happened something like this fast. So I think he's bringing changes, and he's pushing these changes. Again, I'm telling you as observer from outside and from inside. I'm a filmmaker who been there and who was witnessing all these changes. Now, it will definitely take time to change this institution. It will definitely change, that will come slowly, but for sure. And that's what he's doing. And by his example, he's trying to bring more and more change by his gestures that he is showing to the priests to do, by the gestures that he is trying to do towards refugees, climate change, poor people. He's trying to encourage other priests to do the same thing. So he is bringing this change. Now, how fast it is, how drastic it's going to be, the time will show. I'm not an expert on the church. I'm just a documentary filmmaker who've been able to witness last 3 years and witness all these changes, analyze them, because that was a really helpful learning experience for me personally, and also opportunity to see positive signs and positivity in a building healthier future also for the church and also for the humanity around the church and also for the humanity in global.
Yeah. Is Pope Francis the catalyst that can bring the church and the future generations to a more peaceful tomorrow, like you showed with the three world leaders meeting?
Uh, yes, definitely yes. Because I saw it, and I will tell you, if we take any look into this October events in Vatican, and again, I'm not an expert, I'm just observer, and observer who likes to document things and educate the world through my documentaries. I think what I saw when he brought every faith leader from all over the world into the church and signed endorsement to the world leaders to the Glasgow Summit for the Climate Change. That's a great example how he is trying to change the world together with every faith leader. And it's a remarkable achievement. Faith and science aligned together. It's never happened. Now, next day after that, it was exactly every faith leader signing documents endorsing education, because he understands that if we will not educate people properly, we will have a disaster. So he is aligning himself and the leadership around the globe to educate people, to bring awareness about the issues, and to educate them to do good. So he is definitely aligning himself towards the future and towards the future generations and trying to bring the church and the faith and other religious groups together into the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, and I can't wait to see what's next.